Global Product and Gaming Review. I'd like to talk about a book summary called The 4 Hour Workweek. Before I do that, I want to let you know that the purpose of this is for a review, academic review, and that according to um, a law in 1976, is the Fair Use Law, Fair Use and Reporting Law of 1976 gives me the right to use other person's material for education or reporting use. I want to reiterate and make it clear that I'm not here to take credit for the publication and the intellectual property of the book, but just to give a summary for people's benefit, okay? That's my purpose. Now, with that out of the way, I'd like to give you my summary of the 4 hour work week. Now, actually, I was going to put 25 points here, but I'm going to just put 24. Each point, actually, I want to elaborate a little bit on those, okay? Now, the 4 hour work week is a book I found very useful, and it was basically how to make the processes in life more efficient, and ultimately, at the end, to automate your tasks, create more time for what matters to you most, which is friends, family, and other pursuits. Okay? Remember something, people work to live, they don't live to work. You understand? Alright, now, so I want to go over some main points of the book. The first one I want to talk about is this: life is too short and we play it by outdated rules. We play it by rules that no longer work, okay? Those are your outdated rules. You see? Okay. Number two, we often fail to take action. Let me elaborate on that point. Because, number one, because of fear. Okay. Actually, I'm going to unbold that just so you can see the contrast. And the second reason is because we don't know how. We don't know how to play by the right rules and use the right actions. You understand? That's what I'm saying. All right. Now, first of all, when I say because of fear, it's the fear either the fear of failure or the fear of success. The fear of failure is oftentimes a perfectionist attitude where we're afraid that something may not be perfect, someone may not like something, and ultimately they're looking for validation instead of just putting it out there, just doing what you do to the best of your ability and provide value and be honestly and truly who you are in a genuine and benevolent way. Okay? The other one is that we are taught the ways of doing things that are no longer useful and work in the current environment that we live in, meaning economic, technological, and social. You understand? Okay. These are just some main points. Okay, if I were to describe the whole thing, basically, you'd have to read the book. Okay, but that's what I'm doing here. Is I'm just giving you some main points. Number three, there is a different path, but only you can choose the one. You have to decide what you're going to do. Okay? When I say walk it, I refer to your actions. Not just your words, but your actions. Do you understand? Okay. Let's go to number four. Number four has a little bit for me to talk about. First, you must reconfigure your assumptions and beliefs. When I say reconfigure, I'm talking about changing the parameters or changing the conditions of something or how it works. These are the conditions and the ways that something is going to work. Here are your key points: assumptions, beliefs. Understand? Now, I want to talk about this assumptions and beliefs idea. Okay. Now, first of all, I'd like to say that I'd like to talk about the fact that certain things are thought of to be true, but not confirmed to be true. Okay, whether it's because they haven't studied it or just thought, well, that's what I was taught, so it must be true. And these are the beliefs where these two relate to each other. The assumptions is I just think something because of limited information and what I was taught. And this ultimately becomes what are my values? What do I think is true based upon my values? Those things have to change according to what is right and what is true. Okay, we have to look at the reality and the facts. We have to look at what is true, not what is convenient. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. Now, now that we've talked about that, I want to talk about what we should do in response to this misnomer. Okay, first of all, we want to ask ourselves why. Why do we believe something? Why? We want to ask why. Just simple as that. We want to ask why. We want to ask why do we believe what we believe? You see? Because if we can't get to that point, this is not going to help us if we can't get to a point where we're honest with ourselves and just simply just ask us no. That's not what I believe. Okay? We need to understand things for our benefit, to prove to ourselves, not to anybody else, between you and the creator of this universe. Okay? You need to under, understand the answer to the question why. So what you need to do, you need to ask why. Right? Test all things. See if it be true. Okay? Ask why. Why do you assume that? Why do you believe that? Do you understand? Now, second thing, overcome those two things that have become roadblocks. You need to do what you fear most. Okay, so um, because certain things have been a permanent part of our life, because we can't get past the fear of something besides what we assume. We can't get past the fear of something that we're mistakenly believing. Do you understand? If we are so confident about our life, we have no problems asking why. We have no problems confronting the situation. And when we can't confront it, now we have fear. Do what you fear most. You understand? Okay. Next, get comfortable with this. Get comfortable with discomfort. Now, this can come in various different forms. It'd be this could be in the form of perception. This can be in of yourself, etc. It can be ECT, ETC. Um, perception of self. Okay. Now, see, I know this is probably different to what you're expecting. First, we have to get to the root cause of why we do things the wrong ways. Do you understand? It sounds philosophical, and it is philosophical to an extent. But it's all it is really just being honest with yourself. Okay? So we have to be comfortable with discomfort, okay, of our perception of self, of things, okay, of many other things, of things that are not convenient, of things that you think is difficult, of things that go against your beliefs and assumptions, etc. We have to be comfortable when things are uncomfortable because we have to face those things and deal with those things at the root. You understand? This is not so much an easy thing to overcome, but it is a necessary thing to overcome. This is a necessary thing to do. Now, what we need to do is we're often taught our beliefs and we assume that we can't succeed. We assume things because you don't have confidence in yourself. So you assume things. And this assumption, based upon something that may seem logical, has become a belief. You need to change the thinking, and you need to start thinking big. Not small, big. Why? Do you think we're put on this earth to be small? Who knows what your potential is? The true potential of a human being, who knows? But how do you know if you think small? You see, your own thinking has limited you. Do you understand? So what I'm so you need to think big and you need to aim your goals. You need to aim high in your goals. You understand what I'm saying? Reality is, as we get older, things change. Change also is something that's uncomfortable. As we get older, certain things change and we have to adapt to these changes and we have to be able to be adaptable and be able to confront fear and discomfort. You understand what I'm saying? Now, okay, our goal from a business perspective, of course, is to increase our prosperity. Remember something, money is the means, but freedom is the end result. Money is the means, and freedom is the end result. Okay? Now, let's talk about the fifth one. Now, when I mention all these, think of it like climbing a stair, going from level to level. That's what life is. We have a progression. We don't start at the same, we don't stay at the same point, but we need to progress. It's like water. Water is good when it's flowing or when it's at a state where it does something, but once it becomes no longer does anything, it will eventually become stale. Do you understand? Okay. Let's talk about the fifth concept that the 4 hour work week talks about. Okay. Now, when it talks about, do this here. See, it's uncomfortable me having to put this in and it doesn't always work. Okay, here we go. Define what you want. Motivation requires motive. Okay. When I say what you want, I'm talking about goals. This is alongside the idea of thinking big. Don't think of what someone else wants. Be honest and genuine to yourself and say, what do I want? What are my goals? What defines me as the things that I want to accomplish in my life? First, we need to be very honest with ourselves. If we can just honestly put that down and honestly admit it, we can confront things that are not morally or ethically aligned. Meaning, if they're not morally or ethically sound, then guess what happens? We, we know at least we know what we need to work on. We have a point of origin. We have a point of standards. You understand what I'm saying? Now, first we want to define what you want. What is the organization? What is the especially the individual want? What are your goals? You need to understand something. Goals don't happen without motivation. It needs to be something making you move. It's like a car. You have an engine, you have gasoline, you have wheels, etc. You have all the parts that make a car move. Well, something needs to make you move, needs to make you take action. You understand? That's your motivation. You need to think about, okay, first of all, okay, I want, this is what I want to do with my life. This is my goals, in other words. My motivation is because of whatever my motivation is. Morally, ethically, these are my motivations. Be honest with yourself. What is it? Say, define that to yourself. This is not for anybody else. This is between you and the creator of the universe. Whatever name you want to call him, in whatever language, still, the point is the point. And the thing is, you need to consider your motivation, why you do what you do, and then we'll look at the motive and assess it. Am I doing something because I don't? I'm doing something because I don't think I can achieve. So, in reality, I want something for the wrong reasons, or I want something truly because it is noble. You understand? Got to be honest with yourself first. Okay. Now, here's a couple things to consider. Okay, first, we need to consider our motivation to find out what's driving us. What is our motive? What is the thing driving us to show the characteristic of what motivates us? Okay? That's motivation and motive. Now, first thing you want to do is you want to think ideally. The author uses the word dreamline. Okay, now this is like an ideal situation that brings excitement to your life. What is the ideal situation? Here it is. Um, what is the ideal situation that brings excitement to your life? Ask yourself, what makes you happy? What makes you excited? What makes you want to wake up in the morning and say, I want to get this done? See? Think about that. Okay? Next thing to consider. Here's what happens with motivation. It tries to fill the void. When none of it seems to matter anymore, there is a void to be filled. We need to fulfill a purpose. What is our life's purpose? You can see some people have certain gifts and abilities that it makes it very clear what they should be doing with their life. You see, what are they passionate about? What are they talented? What are their talents? What are their motivations? What is our life's purpose? Why do we do what in the end do we think we should be doing to fulfill our life's goal? What is our life's purpose? Okay? Now, this stuff is not something that you just immediately gonna know the answer to. But this requires you just be honest with yourself. Okay? Let's talk about the next point. What we want to do is we don't want to eliminate all but non-critical tasks to create time and space. Okay. Now let me talk about what I mean by that. First of all, when I say space, I mean space. I mean the space, as in someone's life, do what they want to do. Meaning, sometimes you want things that don't matter, so it doesn't occupy space in your life, as in storage, as in things being close to you, right? Or people that don't add value, or things that don't add value. Okay? Now, this can't be 100% because people are not perfect. We're trying our best to make it close to 100%, but not for perfection, but just to do our best to eliminate what is not bringing value in our life. Okay? Now, to do that, we need to do the following things. First of all, we want to think about how we can be most effective. What ways are we doing things that are not accomplishing our goals? What we need to be is we need to be effective, meaning what we do has to work. Okay? If we want to run, we don't jump. If you want to run, we don't walk. You understand? If we want to run, we run. If you want to jump, we jump. That's effectiveness. Does it do what it's set out its purpose to do? You understand? Does it accomplish its mission? See what I'm saying? Be effective, and also we need to be efficient. We don't want to spend more time on something that is necessary. You see, actually, time is worth more than money. So value your time. But first point is, I'm going to put the bulleted point in for you. Be effective. And by the way, making a mistake, it's okay. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. You see me. Okay, I make a mistake. Oh, no problem. I learn from that. Be effective and be efficient. I'm not the best typer in the world. I understand my limitations. I understand what's passionate for me. Okay. Now, be effective and be efficient. Okay. Second thing is do more of the right things. Let me explain what I mean by that. Okay. Do more of the right. What I mean is this: do the things that fulfill you morally, ethically, and fulfill your life's purpose. If the things are not right for what you're trying to do, and to be a decent human being who's adding value to his or her own life or someone else's life, then it's not the right thing. And the third thing is do less of unimportant things. Okay, let me explain what I mean by that. Okay, what I mean is you don't want to waste time on things that don't matter. Okay? Now, a person could say, well, it matters to me, but doesn't matter to you. But the thing is, if it's getting in the way of accomplishing your goals, then it's unimportant. You understand? Now, there are certain things you can't do things 24 hours a day. You still need to sleep. You still need to eat. You know, there's some essential things as being a human being you have to do, and there's nothing you can do about it. But being efficient is one way to do more of the things that you want to do sooner. Let's talk about the next major point. Now, let's talk about how we can get more done or do less yourself while getting things done. Now, that sounds kind of strange, right? If you don't do it yourself, how's it going to get done, right? Well, one thing to consider is automation. Automation, there's different forms of automation. One could be computer automation, where you set a parameters to a task and it does it for you. Or you will hire people to do tasks for you to free up time for other things. What do you think a business does? Okay? You want to automate whatever is left that we haven't done already. Or shouldn't do because it's not as important. Okay. So, especially if it's clerical work, repetitive tasks, tasks that take more time, and/or tasks that are not something that you want to spend more of your time on to get your tasks done, you need to automate it. Well, one part of automation, besides, as I mentioned, computer automation, is you can hire a virtual assistant. Let me put that down. Let me put that down. Okay. Now, what this is a person who you assign a task to do a certain amount of tasks on behalf of you to get certain tasks done. Okay? And the reason why it's a virtual assistant is because the person is not in the same room with you. Maybe they're in another city, state, country, something like that. Then, with in automating things, you want to create an automated income stream because that's part of automating things. So let me type that here. Create an automated income stream. Meaning you're not trading time for money. You set things up and then things are done. Do you understand? This takes some teaching on how this can be done and how it should be done. Not only should and can be done, but it is a skill that has to be learned. Okay? Automation saves time that you can use on other things. Just like this, people have professional goals and people have personal goals. Well, what happens if you're working too much on your professional goals and it's not balanced with the personal goals, you see? And then what happens? Okay, what happens is that you don't have enough time to work on your personal goals. Okay? That becomes a problem. That's why we need to automate things. See? Now, let's go to our next major point. We need to liberate yourself physically and mentally. If there's physical things that are getting in your way of your health, in the way of getting things done that you need to get done, that needs to be done away with. Mentally, if you have a mental block, something stopping you from thinking the way you should think about in terms of effectiveness, in terms of efficiency, in terms of your health, those things you have to liberate yourself. You have to get out of the way. A lot of times you have to get out of your own way. Most of the time, the causes of your problems is because of the decisions you make, and the decisions are made because of your mentality or how you think. Do you understand? Now, one of the ways we can liberate physically is not to be in the same location. Okay? Now, one of the things we might do is escape from the office. Okay? Why do you think remote work is so important? People have found quality life by working at home where it's more convenient. You see, at first they were afraid. Okay, they're afraid something, right? But the thing is, you at some point you just have to do what is necessary to do what needs to be done. So you understand what I'm saying? So, escape the office. Why that's bolding, but it's okay. Escape the office. Try to get away. When we say escape means get away from. Now, after you escape from your office and you're working remotely and you do work remotely, the next stage of your life is working on retiring. Think of it this way, right? So, yes, if you do what you like, then it doesn't feel like work. But at some point, maybe you want to get out of your career and retire from that career and do something else. Or maybe you physically are injured. You can't do the work, you have to retire. Retiring now, otherwise known as mini retirements. Okay? That is a concept that I think needs more explanation. Basically, there is a beginning to a task and there's an end to a task. So when you're 100 years, 90 years old, 100 years old, are you going to still do the same job? Maybe you're going to be doing something else. See, that's the mental part. Physically, you need to be out of that environment. You need to do things that go away from things that are making you physically or mentally unhealthy. By getting out of the environment that's not healthy, and at some point you have to get out of certain work when it's necessary, when you're no longer passionate about it, when you no longer can be up to the standard. See, but a human being is almost limitless. There's so many things we could be working on. We can leave a positive impact in this world. Okay, let's talk about the next major thing. Life is short. What we need to do is we rarely we are rarely fully in the present moment. We need to focus on the now, on what we're doing now. Not what we did yesterday, not what we're gonna do. Focus on the big thing is focus. Okay? Focus on the good, focus on the task, just focus. Increasing focus. Focus is a very powerful force because it puts all of the effort into one area. Okay? That makes it much stronger. Things are focused. Increase your focus. Okay? Focus is a powerful thing. Just like heat. How do you think heat happens? It gets trapped. It's all in one area. It's all in one place. Focus. As we go down this list, we're gonna look more. We'll start to look more farther down in our life. Here we go. As we talked about before, we need to change our assumptions and beliefs. To do that, we need to change habits. It takes time and reinforcement, meaning repetitively. You need to be patient with yourself. Understand? I'll delete that one just to make the point clear. We also talked about always asking why. Why do I believe this, that? Why do I believe what I believe? Is this a received truth? Do you really believe it? Or are you just parroting what you hear? Be honest and don't fool yourself. Don't try to convince yourself of something that's not true or you don't truly believe. Again, first we need to be honest with ourselves. Actually, if you study philosophy, the first thing they talk about is being honest with yourself. I mean, first rule in philosophy is to be honest. In this case, being honest with yourself. Understand? Okay. Now, let's see. Now, let's see. Next thing I want to talk about is I want you to get used to letting small and bad things happen. Let me explain what I mean by that. First of all, don't try to change things that you can't change. And you can't change everything. Your first focus is to focus on changing yourself first. Making sure yourself is changed. Focus on improving and changing yourself as needed. Okay, focus on improving yourself if you want me to be more precise. Focus. First thing is focus on what you can control. Focus on what you can control. If you can't control what other people do. Now, if it directly affects you, there's something to be said about that. Of course, you need to do something, but you can't control how people think, feel, and other things that you don't have the power over. Don't waste your time with that. Don't wait trying to waste energy on that. Okay? Focus on what you can control and focus on improving yourself first. Okay, remember that. Focus on improving yourself first. Because if you have problems with yourself, how are you going to help other people? You know what it's like? It's like if your airplane is crashing and and you can't breathe, but then you're trying to help someone else with breathing. So you didn't put on your oxygen mask to breathe, but now you want to help someone else put on their oxygen mask to breathe because the plane is coming down because there's no air. Whatever the reason is, you need to focus on improving yourself first. Okay? Some of these things require. These are just major points with some things that you need to do to execute these points. But there are more to these points. For example, how do you improve yourself? Okay, it's another video. That requires honesty. That requires being realistic. That requires not limiting yourself. Understand? That requires several things. Okay. Now let's go to our next major point. Do only what matters. See, this goes back to your purpose. What matters to you? Or what are you trying to accomplish in your life? Or what were you put on this earth to accomplish? Okay? Don't do things that don't matter. Don't do trivial things. Don't spend too much time on things that don't matter. Focus on what matters. Let's break this down. First, I would say, because we're talking about improving ourselves, let's talk about our personal life. And that can be broken down in that can actually be broken down into several other parts. But what it is we need to look at ourself and improving our own situation in ourself first. You understand? Our personal life. Okay? We need to look at what our strengths and weaknesses are. We need to look at what we need improvements in our life and compare it to what we're and also at the same time compare it to what we're trying to accomplish personally with our personal relationships. Okay? Dating relationships, friends, family, etc. Do you understand? Okay. Next one I want to talk about is in business. We have a business, we have something outside of our personal life. Maybe we run a club, maybe we run a for-profit business, non-profit business, okay? In business as well, okay? Only do things that matter. You understand? What matters to your person? This is why it goes back to what is it and why. What and why. What matters to you? Why does it matter? Okay, what matters to my personal life is A, B, C, D. Okay, and then A, B, C, D, and these steps to accomplish A, B, C, D. You understand? Business. What matters to me in business? Okay, it matters is I do this, certifications, pay, or run a business, startup, blah blah blah. For each one, and you can have multiple things. You can have like, okay, I'm working for a business and I have a side gig, or I have an actual business or whatever. We need to focus on the tasks that are useful for what we're doing. Okay? Understand? Now, this is a very summarized idea. And I'm putting some of this in my own words for various reasons. One, because I don't want to be verbatim for this review. Number two, I want to put it in ways that are relatable to people. Okay? Now, if we have better processes now, we want to talk about ways of accomplishing things in business, personal. We find that there are processes or a system. What way works, what way doesn't work? Well, do we want to do it in a way that's inefficient and takes too long? No, we want to do it faster. Now, what we can do is, as long as the quality doesn't suffer and we're able to accomplish and do the things that we set out to do, what we can do is we can multitask. Okay? So, multitask. Now, when I say multitask, it means you're doing more than one thing at the same time. That's the word multitask. Okay? Now, when we're multitasking, we can see because we're basically multiplying, we're getting twice as much done in the same period of time. So our efficiency increases. Okay? And then when we really want to see the impact, we can start at a small scale. Okay, and for every 2 hours per day, what's the impact? For every 2 hours per week, what's the impact? Okay, let's say 2 hours per month, 2 hours, let's say 2 hours every day, 2 hours every week, and so on. Okay? So we can look at, actually, we don't want to say month or year, but let's say day and week. Even if we can get an extra 2 hours in a day, course, that's better than per week, right? But if we say per week, even then we're multiplying by 52. So it's 2 hours extra of productivity times 52. Now, because our productivity and efficiency increased, that means we got it done because we got it done in half the time. We have that much time more to do other things. And if we really want to see it like on the paper or on a spreadsheet, just add it up. Okay, for example, suppose it takes you 8 hours. Suppose it normally takes 8 hours to do a task, and you're able to do it in 6 hours. Guess what you have? You have an extra 2 hours a day. Now multiply that by 7 days. That's how many extra hours in that week you have. Now you have 14 hours in that 1 week. Now multiply that by 52. We're talking a lot of hours. And now, it's best understood if we think about it on a per week basis, okay? Because most people think in terms of that as far as their work schedule. So think of it this way, right? We have an extra 2 hours per day. So that means we have, even if it's 5 days a week, let's say it's 5 times 5, that's 5 days a week. So we have an extra 10 hours per week that we can do something else besides work. Maybe we want to work on our fitness. Maybe we want to work on our hobbies. Maybe we want to work on do religious activities. Okay, that's what it is. Understand? And then if we have urgent things, with our health, with our hobbies, family life, guess what? We can do it now because we've got that extra 2 hours a day and 10 hours per week. That's huge. See that? Remember one thing. Small things add up to be big things. Don't forget that. And also one more thing. Because we have 2 hours extra day per day, right, we can also do two extra items per day. Let's say each item takes an hour to do. Now we've got two extra items that we weren't able to do during that day. See? So let me put that in there. We want to aim for 2 hours saved per day. Then we have two tasks per day we can do that we couldn't do before. Understand? That's very big. It doesn't sound like much because it's per day. But when you think about it from a practical standpoint, it's very powerful. All right. We kind of talked about this before. Stop doing unimportant things. Okay? We need to think about this. Maybe I should rephrase it and say, reset your priorities. It kind of goes with don't do unimportant things, but we need to look at our priorities in life. What is most important to us? So we need to reset our priorities. Okay? Because we've assessed that certain things are no either weren't really important or are no longer important. Okay? Okay? Change what's not important. Okay? How do we do it? Okay. These bullet points is basically how do you do it? Change change to change to what is truly important in your life. Okay? Obviously, you don't want to waste time on and energy on things that you can't define or influence. If you can't define it and say this is what it is, and you can't do anything about it, then don't work on it. Don't worry about those things. If you can't define it and you can't influence it, it's not important. You understand? Because you don't want to try to change things that's beyond your control. Okay? Can I change the weather? Can I change the universe? I can change myself. I can influence people, yes, but I can't force people to do things. I cannot control things outside of myself. I can influence it to an extent, but I can't actually control things outside of myself. Okay? So if you can't define it or influence it, don't worry about it. It's not important for you. Okay. Talk about we talked about an automated income stream. We talked about that. Let's see. Okay, work on passive income. Okay, we don't want to be trading time for money. Okay? If at all possible, okay? If in as much as possible, right now. Remember, I said be in the now. Earn passive income. This is when you're not trading time for money. Okay, if you want me to define that. So working a regular job, there's nothing wrong with it. It's honorable if it's an honest, decent job. Fine. Your in-game goals, you want to always look at the end, and you want to have the end in mind. Just like if you look, you don't just look at what's right in front of your eyes. You look out, you project out. Your vision should be projected out to see past your hands, past a couple feet in front of you. You want to have the end in mind. Okay? You don't want to be trading time for money. You want to be using passive income. Basically, it's like you want to set up a business that earns money for you while you're sleeping, while you're doing your hobbies, while you're doing something else. Okay? You don't want to trade time for money. That's passive income. And one more thing. Suppose so you have two types of income, okay? You have active and passive. Active is you're trading time for money. Passive income is you're not trading time for money. It's making money in an automated way. We talk about automated. Now, here's the thing. Your goal is to have your passive income to be more than your active income. Now, it can't be 100% passive because there are some time where you have to manage, you have to check things. How is the process going? Do I need to change things? There's an assessment, and also maybe creating content or do making steps to set up the process. From time to time, things have to be changed. So I'm not saying it's 100%, but you want to make it pretty close to like 90 something percent. Now, let's talk about some. Let's talk about what else you can do. Okay, as part of the 4 hour work week. Remember, our context is the 4 hour work week. Um, Actually, this shouldn't even be 15. This should be just another bulleted point. What you want to do is you want to create, license, or resell a product or service. You want to just set it up, set it and forget it. Probably heard of that saying, right? Set it and forget it. You want to set it up and make it work. It's just like this when you get a plant to grow, you're not constantly looking at it growing. You plant the seed and let the plant grow on its own. You see? That's a passive way. You set it up once, right? You put the seed in the fertile soil, you water it, right? The environment waters it, the environment gives it sun. See? But you have initial setup where you plant the seed. After that, passively, it creates a result. You understand? Now, um, here are some criteria or um, things that you should weigh, not 100%, but basically here's some rules of thumb. Number one, it needs to be scalable, meaning it needs to be able to increase in size. Number two, you need to start small with it, for financial reasons, for operational reasons, and for any other reasons that are relevant. But you want to, it's scalable, yes. Okay? Just because it's scalable doesn't mean, okay, let me show you. Remember I told you scalable, it needs to increase in size, be able to increase greatly in size, in quantity or size, okay, size, etc. Okay? The other thing is, these are some guidelines. Okay, basically that was the word. Next one, we want to start small. Why? We want to have this on a manageable basis. And if it's smaller, it's easy to accomplish. When you accomplish small goals, it gives you confidence to keep in um, accomplishing more goals, and especially going to the point where accomplishing big goals. Okay. And then finally, with that, you want to think big. When I say think big, I'm talking about goals. Have big goals. Understand? That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Now, obviously, it needs to be something profitable and realistic. Okay? Now, next thing we need to focus on the system. How can I make the system the solution? Understand? So, focus on a general way for things to work. Okay? A procedure and a general way. Okay? So, put this in. Focus on the procedure in a general but value driven and adaptable way. Okay, let's break that down for a second. First, procedure. We need to know exactly how we're going to do it. You understand? So, let's I'm trying to put this all in the same. Okay, procedure. How? What are the steps to do it? Okay, general way, as in generally, how can we do it? We're not limited to specific things. We are adaptable. So actually, I could just say procedural, focus on the procedure, adaptability, and being value driven. Okay? So, because when you focus on value, being value driven, right? You already in marketing terms, you're creating your value proposition is based upon value creation and value communication to the customer. So once the customer sees that value at the end of the stage, it will create value for you in terms of earnings. Okay? But you need to show that this is a valuable product or service and it's communicated effectively. Okay? So, you want to keep your decisions to be um, not expensive. You want to keep your you want to keep your operating expenses to a minimum. Okay? That is why you have a virtual assistant. That is why people outsource. Okay? Keep your operating expenses to a minimum. Okay? The less money you have to spend, the easier it is to do it. The more profit you have, the more money you have. Do you understand? Not sure why they didn't respond. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to minimize decisions. The less decisions we have to make, the less complex it's going to be. And if something is less complex, we have less chance of making a mistake. Okay, because mistakes cost money and also they cost something called an opportunity. It creates something called an opportunity cost, which means the cost of something for not having it. Okay, so minimize decisions to avoid complexity. To why? To prevent preventable to prevent mistakes. It's almost redundant. To eliminate preventable mistakes. Okay. Now, if it's something you're not sure and it can make or break you, hire a specialty firm. If it's financial, like for example, an accountant, investment professional, something like that. Right? The other reason why you want to avoid complexity is because complexity also prevents you from taking action. That's the other problem. Now, you want to focus on high profit items. Focus on high profit items. Right? Focus on high profit items. When I say items, I'm referring to product or services, just a thing as an entity that you deal with. Okay, remember, you want to do things on our terms. You don't want to do things on the terms that are not favorable to us. Okay? Now, when it comes to business and saving time, what I suggest you do is replace binge travel with mini requirements. The less you want to make the requirements less to do business. Okay? Eliminate all barriers to business. Or eliminate all as many barriers to business as possible. Okay? The reason why I'm talking about business throughout this presentation is because people do work jobs. Not everybody. The people who work for someone else instead of themselves, if they were able to do things that was enabling them to have more time or to replace their income where they're making more money than before, then that would give them more time to do the other things that they want to do. You see what I'm saying? So, right? So, eliminate as many barriers to business operations as possible. Okay? Let me give you an example of what I'm referring to. Travel. That's why I said binge travel. Like, for example, people will travel a lot, thinking that's what they need to do all the time for business. Sometimes it's necessary for some customers, some clients. If you can do it without having to travel, that's ideal. Number one, it will save you time. Number two, will save you money. Number three, will save you energy. Right? Eliminate all barriers. If you don't know how to eliminate the barrier, consult with someone who does. Okay? Remember something, when you hire a consultant, that consultant is saving you time, headache, and in the long run, increasing your profit margin and allowing you to eventually live the way you want it, and only working half as much because you've found inefficiencies in your life. You've eliminated your inefficiencies. You understand what I'm saying? So, this is what I'm saying. Okay? Just for example, a business consultant also has the same idea. You know what they do? They say, okay, what are the inefficiencies in business? And with that, you know what they do? They'll work on the inefficiencies. Okay, a company's wasting money here, or they're spending too much money here, or they haven't done things to make people bring people up to the standard, quality, or whatever the case may be. We need to look at the full picture, just like we would assess a business and find the things that are working compared to the things that are not working and improve it. Same thing with our life. Can we make our processes more efficient? Okay, this is kind of, I don't know if this is a silly example, but there are some people who are so clever that they found a way to do two jobs at the same time. Okay, for example, there are some programmers who work jobs, similar jobs, okay? They figure out a solution that works based upon what needs to get done. They're able to replicate and automate the solution. Start by replicating it. That way, it's like copy and paste, move here, move here. And then they're able to save time, such as not going to meetings. So if they need a little extra time to get it done because they're working two jobs. So I'm not saying people should be what they call overemployed, you need to check some ethical things in the contract in the job. But the point of what I'm saying is that people have found a system in which they can do twice the work in the same amount of time. And because of that, when they start doing that, they're twice as productive. And when you're twice as productive, you do things in half the time. And guess what happens when you're doing things in half the time? Now you have half the day left. See, just like this 4-hour work week. Okay, so that's the start. Doing things in half the time. Yes. So what we do is instead of 40 hours, we think, okay, that's 8 hours in a day, right? For example, right? Times 5 days, right? What we do is we say, okay, we're doing it in 1/10 of the time. How do we do it in 1/10? We eliminate all the unnecessary tasks and efficiencies. For example, out of all the other things that don't lead to productivity. Okay, for example, meetings. Sometimes it's necessary, but if you eliminate meetings, let's say you have daily meetings for like an hour. Okay, here we go. That's 5 hours right there. Maybe you work during your lunch. Okay, maybe you can multitask. When I say work during your lunch, I mean you multitask. Do you understand what I'm saying? You're multitasking, okay, and you have things set up where it's like writing a macro, like it automatically just happens. So that's why a system is a set of ways that we can do things in which we know the procedure and the results based upon based upon this system. We know what to do and we know how to do it. Understand? So that's what it is. So instead of taking, we're doing everything basically 1/10 of the time. Actually, it's actually less than an hour a day. Okay? There are many ways depending on your industry. Not in every industry can you do this. In your personal life too. Suppose you're working for yourself and you need to balance what you do at home, let's say a home office or something, with your work. Well, maybe there's a way you can do things in different times of the day or different ways. So this is another one. There are many ways that are super efficient. Okay? Another way is hiring someone to do the work for you. That's a very low tech way. What you want to do is you want to take all these methods and all the systems, make a comparison, and then look at the theoretical model, right? What would happen if I do X, Y, and Z, A, B, C, whatever, 1, 2, 3, right? And so if those tasks takes up 20, whatever it is, each task, if I can automate it as a task that I don't have to take the time to do, right? Virtual assistant, another time to do. Doing paperwork, another time to do. And also, the last thing to consider is, does it advance towards my goal of what I'm doing? Right? Just like bosses, why do bosses have secretaries? They don't have time to type up all this stuff. They have meetings to go to, they have other things to do, you know what I mean? They don't have time for that. So what do? Well, they hire someone to do it. See what I'm saying? So just like this, suppose there's a part of your job that you could hire someone for cheap to do, right? They're working on those tasks, right? And especially if they know in advance, you could be eliminating that to everything except for like the most essential things, maybe meetings or whatever. And people who are overemployed, what they do is they don't go to meetings. Okay, there's lots of tricks up the trade which you can look up, but you want to look from a system first, a general way of doing things as a strategy. Then we look at the tactics, our specific ways to complete the task, but the general way as an outline. So, going forward, my hope for you is that you will implement what I'm saying into your life. Okay? Now, so what I'd like you to do is please click like. If you haven't already, please click subscribe so you'll have access to all my videos. And please click the bell button so you'll be notified of all my future videos. Keep in mind that I will have a membership where you'll be able to access premium features, where you'll have access to me live, and also access to certain resources you wouldn't normally have of things that I'm developing or have that I'm either privy and have access to myself that most people don't, or the people on this channel wouldn't. Okay, my purpose is to add value to people's lives. Okay, so this is a journey. This is new for me as far as this channel. What I'd like to do is I'd like to get this really pushed because I'd like to really help as many people as possible. As I'm going along, I will be improving the channel and adding more features. What I'd like, so the purpose is I want to get the algorithm pushed through. Okay, all right. So, right. What I'm gonna do, if possible, if there's an option in YouTube, is I'd like to enclose this outline for people to remember this and to apply what I said. Now, um, if it's not possible, but and you weren't able to do it, feel free to take notes. Write down what I put here. Okay, write down. Put the main points, and feel free to put this in your own words that means the same. I just want to get the general meaning across, so that way the person can get the most value out of it and apply it to their life. You understand what I mean? Okay. I do want to thank you for watching this video, and I wish greatly that this has been a blessing and of value to people's lives. I do want to thank you very much for watching the video, and I wish you a happy and healthy day. Have a great day.